All right, y'all, welcome back to Tree Racing. The holidays are over. It is officially 2025, so Happy New Year to all you Tree Racing fans out there.
Shopping with a gun. You just baby.
I figured I haven't been on the camera in a while, so I'd kind of start this baby back up and show you guys what I'm doing this off season. Got some motor work I'm doing here, and I'm currently working on the tow vehicle. I had to, some of you guys might remember, I had to cut the tailgate at an angle on both sides to give me a little bit better turning radius when I have the enclosed trailer hooked up. So I'm welding up basically the holes on the side right now. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, welded it all up. Ground off smooth. Both sides I think look pretty good. Now I just got to figure out a way to paint this whole bad boy and put the lights back in on both sides. Have some of this poor 15 laying around. Things like 12, 13 years old. And got a coat on it. If I can just get these leaves to stop falling on this thing, I'll go ahead and get my coat of white on it. But she's looking pretty good. All right, fast forward, got some white paint on it and she's officially done. Got the lights back in her and she don't look too shabby, good enough to sell. I need a tow vehicle, don't I? I got another truck. I didn't tell you guys, but I got another, it's actually a 2004 Duramax, non-utility bed. It's got 4 doors, it's a crew cab, regular old dually bed. So the plan is to sell this guy right here because I don't need 2 tow vehicles. And I really didn't need a single cab to begin with, but it's what was available at the time. I needed a tow vehicle, so I bought it. But I'm gonna sell this baby and I'll show you guys my new truck in a little bit. But I'm definitely gonna have to keep on towing this trailer, even though I don't plan on racing in 2025. And some of you guys are probably thinking like, what am I gonna do watching a racing channel if they're not racing? Well, I got some plans and I haven't really announced it officially on YouTube. But I'll do it right now. Me and Livia are going to be moving to South Carolina. Our plan is in 2025. Hopefully everything works out where that will still be the case and it doesn't get postponed, but we're going to try to shoot for 2025, probably in the summertime, hopefully. But that being said, I got to stop racing because the super truck, as you guys know, is already for sale, but I can't bring that to South Carolina because it fits no rules at all over there. It's somewhere between a street stock and a late model. Right in between, basically. So I've had a couple bites on people that might want to buy it, but nothing that stuck yet and nothing that's been too serious of an offer. So what it's gonna look like, I'm gonna have to do, which is gonna kill me, but I'm gonna have to tear this thing apart piece by piece, pull the motor out, pull the drivetrain out, pull all the goodies off it and try to just sell it one by one, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to get my money out of this car. Because California and the West Coast is not the place to be for stock car racing. It's just not, it's not the place because it's not very popular. There's not a lot of fans out here, people that actually like stock car racing. And lo and behold, where I'm moving, it's the stock car racing epicenter, pretty much. North Carolina, South Carolina, everybody loves stock car racing out there. So nobody wants to buy this car because they don't want to get into a stock car, and it just kind of sucks. But I'm going to get my money out of it one way or not. It's been a great car for me, a lot of memories and a lot of building and a lot of getting better at being a race car driver. I guess you can kind of say a setup guy. I haven't got that much better, but I've learned a little bit more than I used to know. And I've built some pretty good motors that have been in this thing. So definitely a good learning car for me, but I got to sell it. And I still have the hobby stock, which is in the enclosed trailer. I'm gonna try to get this thing sold first, however I may sell it, and then I'll go ahead and work on getting the hobby stock sold. But I think I might be able to make a couple races this year with it. We'll see. I'll probably try to clean it up a little bit, then race it, and try to sell it while I'm racing it. But we'll see. Hopefully I'll be able to get on the track in the hobby stock. But there's no New Year's race this year, and the season really is kind of up in the air still on schedule, so I don't know yet. But definitely gonna have to sell both my cars. And well, I got motor work to do here because I need to sell the motors too. I got so much stuff in this garage I gotta kind of sell, and well, engines I got to put together to sell, you know. So let me show you what I'm doing here. Okay, so I got 2 motors here I'm starting to build. You know, I said that there might not be a whole lot of racing content that I'll be posting out there, but it will be maybe just not on track stuff, but it'll be racing related stuff I'm doing videos on, like, you know, building race car engines, pulling race cars apart, all that kind of stuff. I know that you guys really are here to watch the on track stuff, and I've seen the view count really take a hit, and the subscriber level kind of plateau off right there at like 4,000 right now, because I just don't race as much as I used to race. But I'm gonna keep on doing it because I like doing these videos and like showing you guys how I do things on a budget and all that. So let me tell you what I'm doing here. This is the IMCA stock car motor. Some of the old, oops, just dropped a little bit of ATF there. Some of the old subscribers might remember that I had an IMCA stock car one time. I gave it to my racing partner, Johnny. I traded him the enclosed trailer for it. He's still racing it up in Placerville as a pure stock. And you guys might remember the mystery motor, which I built in the off season last year. I didn't build it, I put it together. It was a long block. I had to drill a fuel pump, push rod hole for it. Well, it didn't last a season. It blew up. Lo and behold, it spun like 3 main bearings and a couple rod bearings. It looks like it had an oiling problem. We come to find out that the radiator that was in that car, all the tubes were expanded, like it got over pressurized. So we overheated that motor completely, like a couple times. And I don't know if that was related to maybe the oil burning up or whatever in it, but it spun, it ruined the block, ruined the crank, pretty much ruined everything in it. Good news is, it was just a throttle body injected 350 out of a 1994 truck. So really, it wasn't good stuff to begin with. No real loss there, but this is the IMCA stock car motor I've been working on or trying to build for a while now. I've accumulated all the parts for it, and so I'm building it now, and I'm going to show you guys just what I'm doing to put it together. This will be my first IMCA stock car motor build I've ever done. They don't have as much horsepower as a super truck, so I'm going to use all the same tricks and stuff that I know for making 600 horsepower on a 400 horsepower motor. So that's the plan. This will also be kind of, I'm not sure if this will be a race motor, it'll just be a hot rod motor, but I'm putting these motors together because I need to sell them and get my money out of all the parts and stuff I have sitting here, and it'll be good contact for you guys. So let's go ahead and build a couple motors. All right, so let's start off with the IMCA stock car motor. You guys will know that as this motor, and this motor over here, we'll just call it Frankenstein, because this motor is going to go together, and it's going to be a bunch of parts and pieces I have lying around that are good parts, and I have a combination in mind that will work pretty good together with the cam and the cylinder heads and stuff, and pistons that I have already. It doesn't have to be a race car motor. This might just be a hot rod motor or something that somebody can put in, you know, a muscle car, a truck, a boat, a race car if they want to, but it'll be a good running motor with a little bit of lope to it. But this is going to be a nice IMCA stock car motor. It's going to have the nice Dart spec heads on it, and I'm building it to their 500 CFM spec motor rules, and I'm really getting everything right on the dot to be basically as good as a running motor as I can get. So I'll show you guys all the tricks and stuff on that. So what I had here is an 010 block, 4-bolt main. It's a really good block. You look at the casting here, and it really doesn't have any core shifts, and you can kind of tell that by the way that the cam bearing here is centered in the casting. And so I had to get this thing 40 over because the pistons I had a good set of 40 over pistons, and as you can see, it's also been decked by my machinist, because the piston and rod combination I had, I basically had 7 good pistons that are pretty much almost brand new. They're the DSS forged pistons. So I had to buy a single piston to make that a full set. I don't know what happened to the other piston. I lost it, or it didn't come complete. I just forgot. It's been a while. But the piston and rod combination I have is a nice set of forged scat I-beam connecting rods. They're basically the legal ones for the class. And that combination puts me at a 8.99 piston height in the block. And pretty much all the older small block Chevy blocks from the factory are basically, the deck height is like 9.015 to 9.025, somewhere in that range. So if you do the math, that will put the piston in the hole a bunch. It was in the hole like 35 thousandths, which is way too much. 35 thousandths is the distance that the piston would be in the block, and then you have to put a head gasket on top of the block in between the cylinder head, and those two numbers, the number that the piston's in the hole, and then the thickness of your head gasket, that is your quench number. And the quench number is very, very important. I like to get that as tight as I can get it because it makes better power. You have less chance of detonation. So basically I had to get this cut. I think I got this thing cut like 20 thousandths. So I'm gonna have right around a 35 to 40 thousandths quench number, which is gonna be really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and wash it up right now. I had to go ahead and tap all the holes here to put plugs in. And also I tapped all the holes here to put plugs in. I also notched the block in each lifter bore, so I get a little extra oil on the camshaft. Just some of the things I like to do, but I'll show you all the tips and tricks on it. All right, so you guys might be asking yourself, why is there a dingle ball hone out after this thing just got machined? And like I said, I'm gonna kind of give away a lot of my tricks here, but I don't care because you know, I just want to share out with everybody out there how I do these motors and the way I've made this one live for 3 years now, spinning 8100 RPM, never having an issue. Basically, I'm just going to go ahead and show everybody out there and kind of spill my guts out a little bit of the stuff I've learned over the years on how to make these motors last and all that. So basically what's happened is I found a machinist in the area who's local to me who charges not a lot, but he does really good work. He just kind of has a shop in the back of his house or whatever. I'm not going to name any names, but he's really good. He's a really good machinist. He does really good work as far as measuring and getting everything correct and all that. But he's an older guy, and he just maybe is not as up to date with everything like I've been paying attention to, you know, and doing research and stuff. So basically what's happened is I've had him machine my block and hone my block, and he did everything correct. I've checked every single bore here with my dial bore gauge, and they're all right on the money. They're exactly even. They're straight bores. He used a torque plate when he honed the block, so everything is going to be straight and even for when the heads are bolted on. But the problem is I don't like the surface finish he gave me. And to talk to some of the machinists out there, he used a CK10 machine, which is a really good old machine, but it's not the latest and greatest stuff. And so what I've done is I've taken a profilometer, which I had to borrow from somebody else that I know, which is basically like a really, really, really accurate microscopic. Basically, it's like a camera or a microscope or whatever. And what it does is it measures the surface finish, excuse me, and it tells you like how rough it is. And there's a bunch of numbers and stuff. And what I'm after is not what he's giving me. So what I've found is when I went ahead and I did the profilometer check on the cylinder he did, I went ahead and I also dingle ball honed a cylinder as well. You know, they're all the same, and I just dingle balled one cylinder, and I checked it, and after I dingle balled the cylinder, I was really, really, really close to the numbers I was looking for on the profilometer. It basically makes it a smoother bore. You can see that it's kind of a duller finish compared to the rest, and what that means is it's not as rough, and there's not as many like peaks and high spots like there is in the other cylinders. And what that's good for is when you're breaking in a motor, if you have a lot of peaks, it's a really rough surface finish, it will go ahead and it'll break in really well, but it will actually wear out the rings a lot because you're really just a lot of abrasiveness to the cylinder, and it'll build a lot of heat up, and it's just overall not good for the longevity of the block and the parts, and you'll get a little more blow by and stuff. And there's a lot to be had on getting the surface finish and the ring package right on the cylinder as far as horsepower goes, friction and heat in the motor, and overall just life of the cylinder walls and the rings and all that. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit all the rest of the cylinders now with the dingle ball hone to get my surface finish right. Another thing I've done, I told you guys I've grooved the lifter bores here to get a little squirt of oil on the camshaft, because this is a flat tappet camshaft motor, and to kind of get a little more oil on the lobe and the lifter to prevent it from going flat. There's a groove in them. And then I've also gone ahead and I've opened up this main oil galley here with a 1/2-inch drill bit, opened it all the way up. And what that's done is it's given the oiling system of the motor more volume. And when you do that, you have to run a high volume oil pump, because there's just more oil in the system and you need to pump it faster and all that stuff. So these are the tricks that I do so you can really RPM these motors and make them last, and the oiling system will be much better than it was from the factory. There's a couple other things I did on the bottom, but I'll show you that in a second. But I'll go ahead and put you guys on time lapse real quick and just hit these cylinders real quick, and they'll be ready to go ahead and wash it. All right, I just hit all the cylinders real quick, and I've gone ahead and I've wiped out all the gunk that was in there as best I can. So now, as you can see, there's a lot more dull of a finish, and time to wash it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this block from here over there and break out the pressure washer. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit every single oil passageway there is, on the cylinders, everywhere in the block, on the inside, the outside. It's really important to make sure you get all the grime and metal shavings or whatever it is that you've been getting in the motor working wise. Like if you're grinding on it, doing some drilling and tapping, gotta get all that crap out. And then as soon as you do that, I'm gonna have to go ahead and hit this thing really, really fast with some air to get all the moisture out of it, and then WD-40 so it doesn't flash rust on me.
Are spilling out and staggering in a square. There's lads.
All right, so this is not going to be a how to build an engine video. This is going to be like a 10,000 foot flyover. This is mostly meant for somebody who's already built a small block Chevy in the past. I'm just going to give you the meat and potatoes here, the stuff that really, really matters when it comes down to it, to make these things live. So I went ahead and I blew everything dry, cleaned out all the oil galleys and stuff, and I got my cam bearings in, as you can see right here. And so got the rear cam plug in, and I got obviously the rear galley plugs in. And something I want to mention is I do not run restrictors on the two galleys on the side here for all the lifters. Flat tappet, roller, cam, doesn't matter. I've always not run restrictors, and I like the extra oil on the top end. If you got a big enough oil pan, it's okay to run, you know, the high volume pump and everything, and you're not going to push too much in the top of the motor if you got enough capacity in the oil pan. But I like the extra oil up there, especially if you're running a flat tappet, because you just want the extra oil on the cam. And if you got a groove in the lifter bore like I do down there, or you're running the EDM hole lifters, you just need more oil up top. And I like to get oil up on the cylinder head too, and keep the valve springs cool and stuff. But when you do that, you just got to really focus on the drain back into the pan. You got to spend a lot of time doing that. So I got the front cam bearing here, as you can see, and there's a little notch right there, and that's what I do. I take a file, the same file I use to notch my lifter bores, and I just take a little bit of a file right here on the edge of where the cam bearing is, and that little small groove right there will send a nice stream of oil right on the thrust surface of the cam gear here, and it'll provide, you know, oil when it gets flung out onto the chain. Also, some people like to drill the plugs here. I just like doing it here just in case somebody takes these plugs out, loses it, doesn't realize there's a hole there, and then yeah, this is good for the life of this block. All right, so with the cam bearings in, I always put the oil hole right there, which is the 3 o'clock position. When you look at the block right side up, that is the 3 o'clock position, and that is the prime location to put that fresh oil right where you need it, because the load point is right here on the cam. And so if you get a fresh oil squirt right before that happens, that's the best place to do it. It's all about the oiling system on these race motors. Engine building is all about precision measurements, attention to detail, and cleanliness. So everything is clean as I'm working along. You can see that I like to open up the oiling passage that comes from the oil pump here into this little area where the oil filter is. And when you bolt this guy on there, make sure that this side of the adapter here is not right there, which will block off the nice hole that I have opened up quite a bit. And so I've gone up through this oil hole to where the actual freaking oil pump bolts to on this cap. And as you can see, I've shown a lot of love with the die grinder in there, and opened that up. And then I'll show you on the inside too. I've kind of given a little bit of love through this hole right there. Can't do this with one hand, but this hole that goes up to the top of the cap where the oil pump is, gone through there, and there's kind of like a little angle in there, so I've gone ahead with the die grinder and smoothed that angle off in there. And the same thing that goes in there, where this hole here connects to this, there's also an angle, and I've just rounded that off, made it all smooth transitions. And you cannot forget, there's a plug down there. Don't ever forget to put that plug in. I always run the Wix 51060, not the 51060R, which is their race filter. That one doesn't have the same amount of filtration as this one does. This one has a like 25 micron rating, which is a much smaller micron rating than the racing filter, which is like 60. I've always run this, never had a problem. All right, so as for the crankshaft, this is actually a factory GM cast crank that I've actually polished myself using the Redneck version number 2 of the polish on the crankshaft. I'll see if I can put that video in the link here. But looks good. I'm gonna have to get this guy sent off to my machinist, and he's gonna have to balance it and blueprint it. It's gonna be a really good crank. But you can see I got the 4-bolt main caps here, and I'm actually not gonna be using the regular old bolts. I have a kit here. I always like to use studs on these factory blocks. So these will all be studded. And as you can see that well, maybe you didn't see, but I have this thing already plastic gauged. So that's the way I check my bearing clearances. I've done it with micrometers and stuff before, but plastic gauge, it always gets you right in the ballpark. And excuse me, I can't even talk right now. The bearings I'm running are a King engine bearing here, and that is the part number I use. And they're really good bearings. I've had really good luck with these. They're a bimetal with a lot of aluminum in them, but as you can see, it's an STD, which is a standard size bearing with the X at the end, which means extra clearance. And I always try to shoot for in between 2.5, pretty much in between 2 and 3 thousandths, trying to shoot for about that 2.5 range on the main bearings. And I'll show you right here, I'm pretty much right there. It's usually always right in the money as far as using these bearings on the clearance, but as you can see, that is the 3, and that is just a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller than the 2. So they're all about the same, 2.5 thousandths. And there's a lot more work I'm gonna have to do here. I'll show you guys the crank scraper and stuff and the rest of the rotating assembly, but this video is getting a little long, so that'll probably be the next episode. All right, I think I forgot to mention that when I'm doing all the block prep, I actually do open up these 3 center oil holes to the crankshaft here quite a bit with the drill bit. I think it's a 7/16 drill bit, and I drill all the way through there, and then actually all the way through the oil or the cam tunnel too, into the main oil galley here that I drilled out bigger to a 1/2 inch. And the reason I do that is because each one of these holes actually feeds 2 rod bearings. It actually, loops here at the crankshaft main bearing, and then they go through the crankshaft to the rod bearings. And this one has 2, this one has 2, this one has 2, so that's 2, 4, 6. And then this one feeds 1 rod bearing, so 7. And then this one also feeds 1 rod bearing, so 8. But yeah, I always like to open up those, and that's another reason you have to run a high volume oil pump, is to feed all the extra oil. All right, so I told you guys I'd show you my new truck. Here it is. It's an 04 Chevy Duramax dually. I already made up mine. I got the Chevy sticker and the Dale number 3 sticker on it. So I'm really happy with it. It's got a little bit of a leveling kit on it. It's got the nice BFG tires on it, oversized with the Alcoa rims. They definitely need to be polished, but I'm really happy with the way it looks. The body is immaculate. I mean, I cannot find a single dent on this thing. Paint's in really good shape. It's got Fox shocks on it, and like I said, a leveling kit with some Cognito upper control arms and some torsion keys, and a couple beefy like Heim joint style brackets on the idler and pitman arm. It's really good shape. I'm really happy with it. I love the way these trucks look, and I just got to get it registered and smogged and it'll be mine. But it is, you know, just a regular old dually bed, which I'm pretty happy with. The only thing is I know that these fiberglass beds have been known to come apart quite a bit, so I'm going to probably put some mud flaps on it to keep any rocks from flying up and putting a hole in the back quarter here like I see so many trucks have. But it's got 4 doors, which is really cool, which will be nice when I move to South Carolina. If I can find some folks to help me out doing the race car stuff, I'll have plenty of room to take a couple crew guys with me. So just figured I'd show you guys that before I end this video. And you guys remember, if it's bent, it ain't broken. I'll see you guys here next time doing more motor work.